it's gotten there. So they are still investigating to see what exactly these young men were up to.
And it appears that residents were in shock. They've massed up at the police station. The police says they are investigating. How hopeful are they that we'll definitely get to the bottom of this? So these two gentlemen, are they also in possession, police custody as we speak?
Yes, they are in police custody. But the people around, they are praying that they would really get to the bottom of this, because I mean they've heard of cases where things like this happened and the police sort of doesn't do their part well. So they are really praying that even we as a media would push this to the level where results will be found. That's
But how
what they're
about the
looking for.
children, the 4 and the 7-year-old?
Yes.
Okay, so we only saw the 4-year-old child. She was quite. I mean, she's okay now. She's with her parents and her grandparents, and so they are fine. They are fine.
Okay. Judith, thank you very much. That's Judith Awoche Tando. They're following that case for us. We'll definitely be following up on it as well. And we urge parents to also make sure that they protect their children.
From Dakuma, let's go to Sekwa. An autopsy report conducted on the body of a man who died while in the custody of the police in Sekwa in the Bono region has revealed he did not die a natural death. The details are contained in a police situational report obtained by Joy News. Now, 3 policemen stationed at the Sekwa police station in the Bono region have been charged with murder over the death of Abu Nepa. They deny any wrongdoing but have been remanded into police custody to reappear on the 11th of May 2021. We'll get details on that, but Precious Semevo brings us this News Desk report. Precious will join us on the line shortly, but let's bring you this News Desk report and then we'll bring you the details.
The 3 officers are alleged to have tortured 48-year-old Abu Nepa, leading to his death. Police prosecutor, Superintendent Joseph Apawu, said an autopsy conducted on the body of the deceased gave the cause of death as chest injury and blunt trauma to the chest. He said the pathologist concluded that the manner of Abu Nepa's death is unnatural. The fact of the case is, on Friday, 16th April 2021 at about 6 p.m., Abu Nepa, now deceased, was arrested and sent to the Sekwa police station by Emmanuel Ofori, the bank manager, and the 2 security guards for damages caused to the rear windscreen of his Toyota Highlander. The suspect allegedly resisted and was subjected to beatings before he was handed to the police. He was allegedly beaten and handcuffed to a pillar at the station where he continued to resist. The station officer, Chief Inspector Eric Aforo, allegedly directed he stay there overnight. On Saturday, April 17, 2021, the station officer noticed that the suspect had defecated on himself and littered the premises with human excreta and instructed General Constable Ebenezer Kufu and General Corporal Williams Akusong to release the suspect to clean the place. But on the same day, around 12 p.m., the suspect collapsed and the officers rushed him to the Sekwa Health Center for treatment, but he was pronounced clinically dead on arrival by the staff on duty. Inspector Eric Aforo, on the same day, took the body and led the other 2 officers to bury it at the Sekwa Public Cemetery. Superintendent Kennedy Eduse is the Bono Regional Crime Officer.
Should have known better by preserving the body at the mortuary for autopsy. The here of the case, the opposite happened. To him, one opening Asuman, the second, the Achiamehene of Sefa, together with other boys, assisted him, had a place, dug a grave, and buried him. In that, he's a pauper, and that keeping him at the mortuary will be a burden on them.
The 3 police officers on Sunday, April 18, 2021, realizing that they had breached procedure and sensing danger, exhumed the body and deposited it at Best Care Mortuary. The case was transferred to the Regional Police CID in Sunyani on Wednesday, April 21, 2021, and the officers were subsequently interdicted on April 23. They have been charged with murder and are set to reappear in court on May 11, 2021.
So that was a News Desk report. Let's go to the Bono region now. Correspondent Precious Semevo joins us on the line. Precious, tell us how residents are reacting to this story.
Yeah, so the residents, when they heard of this incident, were very, very furious. They were angry, they were amassing themselves to the police station. Now, it was these pockets of activity that influenced the police personnel or the police officers, the 3 of them at Sekwa, to decide to go back and then exhume the body. So if you've watched some of the footages from the cemetery, you can hear some of the town folks are really angry and are verbally trying to abuse some of the police officials. So generally, they are not happy about the situation, but calm has been restored to the town. People are going about their normal activities, and that is because the police, despite dealing with their own involved in this case, ensured that law and order were in place in Sekwa by deploying more men to Sekwa to ensure that everybody goes about his or her daily activities without fear.
Precious, thank you very much for this update. And Precious will be following the story once the police officers reappear in court. We'll see how this pans out.
Now, it's been barely 6 hours after they were deployed by the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces to remove all persons and logistics involved in mining in Ghana's water bodies. But already, the team has made some strides. Ernest, what are we learning?
So we are learning that two Chinese nationals have been arrested at Atieku in the Wasa East municipality of the Western region. I will bring you details on that shortly, but this is coming just after the Land and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abu Jinapor returned from the Western region, meeting with security heads, MMDCEs and traditional rulers, all in a bid to end the illegalities in our forest reserves. Here is what he charged the DCEs to do.
The directives have been given. So as from Friday, 30th of this month, 30th of April, no company should be allowed into any forest reserve for prospecting or recognizance. That will be unlawful. And not just should they cease prospecting and or recognizance, they also have to evacuate their equipment. River bodies, we all know. We don't need any further instruction on that. Mining is not permitted in river bodies. Gold ore or whatever mineral ore are not permitted to be washed in river bodies. And the government and the people of this country expect us to enforce these laws and enforce these rules strictly.
So that's the Land and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abu Jinapor charging DCEs to remove illegal miners from the forest reserves. He was in the Western region. Correspondent Inatalia Kwanzaa joins us on the line with more on this. Ina, let's start with the arrest. When and how were they picked up?
Yes, so today a joint military and police force arrested two Chinese nationals along the Pra River at Atieku in the Wasa East district. Unfortunately for them, 6 Chinese plus two of their Ghanaian counterparts bolted away, and they are now on the run, which police are searching for them. Let's take a listen to a resident telling us more about this.
Aban modern bar or buffer sanema we emfa galamsey so almost says in shuni in sasene kwaya ni kuku amutwegun nti aban e born ho modern say obetu susa nti yensu bambofo no ye de ho agimne ne aban ye ba ko na yetu sa nema no nyina susa nti nda ye nuanu masojafo ani bia na for no other secret service no be kan ho na yetisi ampampa ye call side bebre na o master say o mu yi o mo ne free site ho na ye call you know who say Chinese for in and Chinese for be ye do masi o baby the time I be do na say car na kwa na planning microphone information e ka kire omo they drew on no is according to conform or no we nipa be 5 but me set me manage dwane ma e chi me mu me nu e chi omo no mo ne omo a e ko bo set e hu say ne mo mo di ye galamsey ni bi ni galamsey ne ma ni bi aye black na mu na ne ma ne ye gold ni bi susi yo mo dem ana sesa ne ma na ye chi omo kan ho aye do ma ba assembly a ye pese mpanifon so to aso na hwehwe mu bi a mbe ya ma aboa ma mabonfon so aboa ma yetu galamsey na ase no yetu ni nyina ase nti no anchi na ye nyina ye boa se de be ya busumi ya na se busumi na otwumi no nta be hu se ye prayer da na a microphone so no mo be nya hoten no emu beti wan ama obi atimi anu bi ama ye kwaye no so mo se no no o meja ne se nti nyina ye mfa ye hunyim ahimfo ashrafo bambofo ne bibia ye mfa nyina ye mfa ye hunyim.
And so that's a member of the team then. Emefa, you get the sense that they are collaborating with the local folks as well to, undertake this operation. We know that this is supposed to take effect. The directive given by the president was supposed to take effect in the western and central regions. And so let's go to the central region now and speak to our man on the ground, Richard Kojo Nyako. Richard, what can you tell us about the deployment made today to the central region?
Well, so Ernest, what has been happening is that the Central Regional Minister, when the Land Resources Minister paid a visit to where the water installation centers are, she promised that they were going to ensure that they get security persons on the ground. So they will be patrolling where our rivers and our water bodies are. If you come to the central region, where the activities have been mainly the Upper Dintra East, the Upper Dintra West, and then on the borders of the KE and then the Shama district. And so that is what the security agencies are doing. They are liaising with the district chief executives and the assemblies in order to ensure that no one, mines in our rivers and then the forest as well.
But what have residents been saying about this deployment to the area?
Well, so the fact that it's affected the water situation in Cape Coast, in other parts of the central region, people are now waking up to the call that there need to be something urgently ought to be done. And so they would want to tell the security agencies and the authorities where mining is ongoing, and then they would want to join the fight to ensure that all of these things are stopped.
And we know that the exercise is targeted this time at water bodies in the central region. Tell us the main water bodies that are affected by illegal mining and the extent of damage.
So mainly the Pra River. The Pra River runs through the central region, through to the western region, and then the Offin River. If you go to Chifu Praso, if you look at the color of the Pra River, you go through to the western region where, the river flows through. It's something you cannot describe. This is a river that in times past people were just fetching water in and then were drinking. But now nothing can be used unless they fetch the water and boil. And we also listened to the water company. They indicated that now they would have to spend more in, working on the water to ensure that we get the quality of water to take in our homes. And so if you go to the Offin River, that is where Dunkwa Offin is. And then all the rivers and then the water bodies there have been polluted.
Richard, thank you very much for bringing us up to speed on this operation in the central region.
And of course, the Lands and Natural Resources Minister has been also meeting a number of, institutions and bodies today. And other Presidential Affairs Correspondent Elton Brobe reports that they've been meeting in a closed-door session with the Lands Minister, National Security, and 16 regional ministers to strategize on ways to ensure full implementation of recommendations, amongst others.
Emefa, let's go on to the phone lines now. We're fortunate to be joined by the Land and Natural Resources Minister, Samuel Abu Jinapo. Thank you very much for your time here on Newsnight. We know that the deployment was done today. 200 military personnel deployed to the central and western regions to make sure that they get rid of illegal miners, especially around our water bodies. But I want you to listen to this sound. It is that of Michael Pepra. He is the president of the Concerned Small Scale Miners Association.
I think sometimes we make mistakes as a nation, and then we come back to blame other people. Using the military approach, we all know has not yielded the results. And in so doing, we can't do the same thing every day and expect different results. So I don't see this approach as something that will bring the needed results we are expecting.
So that is Michael, who is not, confident about the approach that we're using because of our recent history. How do you convince him and others who are thinking along the same lines that this time it will work?
Well, thank you very much, my friend, and a very good evening to your cherished listeners. As you are very much aware, and I believe a lot of Ghanaians are pretty much aware, there's been a lot of consultations relating to small-scale mining in our country. We had a dialogue, a very successful dialogue on small-scale mining, and almost every constituency was highly represented. The political parties were there, Parliament was there, the small-scale miners themselves were there, chiefs were there. We've had this consultation. I myself have been traveling across the country and consulting Ghanaians and trying to sensitize people, arising out of the National Consultative Dialogue and the various engagements. The President has declared water bodies, river bodies, and forest reserves red zones. The President has declared those neighborhoods and those places of our national life, water bodies and forest reserves, red zones. And in other words, those are no-go areas. And as you know, on the instructions of the President, I, as the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, issued directives in relation to what can happen in forest reserves and what can happen in our water bodies when it comes to mining. For instance, in our forest reserves, prospecting and recognizance as from Friday are to be suspended. Equipment for prospecting and recognizance are to be evacuated. Water bodies 100 meters away from the banks of any water body in our country, mining activity cannot take place. That is very clear. That's very unequivocal. We've given an instructions to the Forestry Commission not to issue forest entry permits for purposes of mining. So the framework has been set, which is that forest reserves, water bodies have been declared or designated as red zones. We are now at the implementation and enforcement stage. And at this stage, the National Security Architecture is in charge. And they are taking series of measures in order to ensure that these directives and the designation of these places are enforced and secured. I believe, and it's as a result of that, there have been a series of meetings since yesterday on this matter. It's as a result of that this military deployment is being made. As to the appropriateness or otherwise, as to the potency or otherwise of it, I will leave it to the security experts. I now have confidence in them, absolute confidence in them, and I believe that the steps they are taking, I will not divulge any more than that, which is that they are working to clear our water bodies of mining, actually. There cannot be illegal or illegal mining on the banks of our water bodies. Any kind of mining on the water bodies constitutes illegality, which is what they are trying to do. Forest reserves are also going to be protected and also going to be safeguarded. Okay. So this is where we are, and I'm calling on Ghanaians to support us, support the government, because it's either we are moving forward or we are not. It's either we are enforcing the rules or we are not enforcing the rules. And here we are, government has begun to take steps to enforce the rules. And I think the least that the citizen can do for the country and for our nation and for the survival of our country is to support this law enforcement arrangement.
Well, it's been a few hours since that deployment was made in the western and central region. What kind of briefing are you getting at the close of day today? We're told that there have been 2 arrests already, but officially, I'm sure you've been getting some briefing. What exactly are we picking up in terms of day 1 of the deployment?
Well, I think early days yet, and I know that the Ghana Armed Forces have scheduled a briefing for Friday, I think at 2 p.m., where they're going to give a comprehensive update on how the operation has panned out. But the snipers of reports we've received so far suggest that the operation has gone well. But that will not be conclusive. That will not be a resolution in itself. It will require sustainability. It will require us to have a strategy, which we do have, to ensure that we sustain the law enforcement regime and the law enforcement tools, which will result in us ridding the water bodies and forest reserve of illegal mining. Don't forget, we've already reiterated the mandate of the various regional security councils to be the bodies who have the overriding primary mandate in law enforcement. And so when these operations are over, or when these military people go in and they withdraw, the regional security councils will be mandated to ensure that there is policing of our river bodies as well as the forest reserves of our country. And every now and again, if there has to be reinforcement, there have to be special operations. Bottom line is for Ghanaians to be comforted that the government is acting on their behalf and that we've gone through a systematic process of consultation and of engagement as well as of thinking through the issues. And we've gotten to the stage of enforcement. And that is exactly what is happening.
And I just want to know, are you working within some timelines? Do you expect at some point that we are going to withdraw them from the forest?
No, I'm not sure you want me to give you expect me to divulge such information? No. I mean, that would be completely irresponsible on my part. I mean, these are security matters. These are matters that the security heads are dealing with, and it will be completely unacceptable on my part to begin to give indications as to when they will draw or when they will not draw. What is important is that the security apparatus have taken charge of the situation, and they are enforcing the directives which have been issued by the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources.
You issued a 7-day ultimatum to miners in the forest to disembark. That ends tomorrow. What happens after tomorrow?
Well, first of all, not for miners to disembark. The directive is in respect of prospecting and or recognizance. There's a difference between prospecting, recognizance, and mining. What is happening in the past, which is a mischief we seek to cure, is that people apply for a secure prospecting or recognizance licenses, and I'm sure we all appreciate what prospecting is. You are just going into the forest to find out if there's gold, to explore for gold, to check out for gold if you want.
Exactly.
And they then proceed to mine. On the basis of having secured a prospecting license, they then proceed to engage in mining, which is what we are trying to deal with, which is why the instruction I gave out, I put out, is that as from you say tomorrow, I gave I think 22nd, the publication was 22nd, so if you work it out, 29th or 30th, I'm not too sure what
29th should be.
Yes, but what it means is that as from that date, no prospecting, recognizance, and or exploration should take place in a forest reserve in Ghana. So you cannot prospect in a forest reserve, you cannot engage in recognizance in a forest reserve, you cannot engage in exploration in a forest reserve across our country. That is the effect of the directive which was issued. And therefore, if you already have a mining license and you have a mining operating permit to operate in a forest reserve and is backed by law, and you are following the environmental protocols, and your permits are all up to scratch, this directive will not affect you. Don't also forget that we've directed the Forestry Commission to cease the issuance of forest entry permits. Therefore, you'll be right to say that moving forward, no mining can take place. No mining license or no forest entry permit can be given for purposes of mining a forest reserve. Forward, I mean moving forward. But it does not take retroactive effect. Those who have accrued rights, those rights cannot be disturbed. Even by law, those rights cannot be disturbed. Okay. So these are the measures we put in place. The enforcement will be done. You've already seen what we are doing already. It's going to go on. The Forestry Commission itself have a guard, and they've been instructed to make sure that they enforce these laws. Other law enforcement agencies are being mobilized, and be rest assured that the instructions and the laws which have been put in place will all be enforced to the letter.
Okay, so finally and briefly, I'll take you back onto the water, and as Western and Central, that's where deployments have been made today. From there, where are we going next?
Well, again, I wouldn't have to divulge the security nuances. I mean, it certainly will not be responsible on my part to declare. But what I can say to you is that systematically, we have a program, we have a strategy, and we have a plan to make sure that we rid the water bodies of our country of mining. I mean, and it's such an, I don't know, but it's a very, I heard the gentleman speak, but this is an existential problem. This is a survival problem. This is very much at the heart of the survival of the existence and survival of our country. Water is life. We all know that. Already, the Ghana Water Company is struggling. In the western region, we've had reports of shortages of water as a result of the pollution of all the river bodies there. We are told of the central region how they are struggling to even process water and so on and so forth. The river price heavily polluted. So really, I want to appeal to Ghanaians and appeal to all and sundry and appeal to your listeners that this is about our country. This is not an MPP business, neither is it an Akufo-Addo government business per se. Yes, we have responsibility as a government. We will not share that responsibility. But ultimately, it is a collective effort, which is why I'm particularly excited about the cooperation of the NDC leadership in Parliament, how they've come along, and wherever I've been to in this country, they've also made time to join and to admonish people. Let us all collectively give engender public opinion to support these interventions. That is what will save the situation for all of Ghana.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. That's the Minister in charge of Land and Natural Resources, Samuel Abu Jinapor.
We go for business, and after that, the NPP's ability to break the 8-year maximum term in office of political parties rests largely on the performance of a Greek minister, Dr. Usue Kutuefie. That's the view of NPP founding member Kwame Pienim. I have details of that after business with George Uafe.
Hi, Emefa, and she should be prepared to pay more for the price of fuel from next week, and that does not include those taxes that government has announced in the 2021 budget. I'll be getting you more details on that one. And MTN targets infrastructure sharing to improve service quality in the industry. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business, Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your office essentials and Allianz Life. Let's now settle for the details. Now, prices of petroleum products are expected to go up from next week. Now, this is based on data secured from the bulk importers of petroleum products. It, however, does not actually include the recent taxes that were levied on fuel prices in the 2021 budget. We have more details in the following report.
Based on the data that Joy Business has picked up from these bulk importers, a liter of diesel is expected to go up by almost 2%, while petrol goes up by 1%. This should mean that liter of petrol may not be sold below 5 cedis 48 pesos, translating into 24 Ghana cedis 66 pesos a gallon. If you want to buy a gallon of diesel from next week, then it could be sold at 24 cedis 25 pesos. These price indications are based on data that Joy Business secured from the bulk importers of petroleum products. It therefore means that not adjusting the prices from next week may indicate that oil marketing companies have resolved to absorb the increase. But Joy Business is learning that this proposed price increase does not include the recent taxes levied on prices of petroleum products in the 2021 budget. Therefore, you may even end up paying more from next month if the National Petroleum Authority is able to finally communicate to the oil marketing companies on how the charges should be worked out. Our checks show that the National Petroleum Authority is yet to officially write to the OMCs on how they should apply the taxes on the various petroleum products. Officials of the Ghana Revenue Authority have told Joy Business that they will start demanding their taxes from the oil marketing companies from May 1. Most industry experts will also be looking forward to see whether the over 100 oil marketing companies will indeed increase prices, especially when they have failed to reduce prices on 2 occasions for consumers. However, a careful look at the data also shows that LPG will be coming down or should be reduced by over 3% per kilogram.
And that is a business tax report. Now, MTN says it is looking forward to share its infrastructure with other telecom players to help deal with the current industry challenges. Now, more consumers continue to complain about service quality despite the massive expansion by the telecom operators. The chief executive of MTN, Solomon Dadivo, has indicated that there's a way around in dealing with this issue.
Network as a service, where we really look at how do we use our network to support industry growth. So looking at very specific opportunities within that. So open mobile, essentially leveraging our network to support, other mobile players. You can do things like infrastructure sharing within that. Fixed as a service, so where we use our fixed network to provide specific services to other wholesale providers. And we look at things like cloud communication. Part of the infrastructure sharing, to simplify what this really means, you can look at things like fiber sharing. You can look at things like network sharing, where your competitors can roam on your networks. National roaming, for example, will be an example of that. And you can look at things like radio access network sharing, which would allow our competitors or a new entrant to be able to leverage our infrastructure for that purpose. So lots of opportunities and exciting opportunities there.
Selo Madadivo is chief executive of MTN Ghana. Now, Unilever Ghana is attributing its improved financial position for 2020 to some prudent measures that it has taken Over the last 2 years, the manufacturing giant ended last year recording another loss. However, it represents an improved position compared to that of 2019. Speaking to Joy Business, Mr. Owusu noted that they show that they are actually close to turning the corner for the manufacturing firm.
We invested in capable resource. That was number one. Two was running the business based on the fundamentals of business. Okay, so making sure that we run the business based on the fundamental cluster.
What timelines have you given to yourself in terms of getting back to the winning ways?
I think we've got a strategy that we are working to, and we will take it year after year. Okay, we started relatively well, and we hope to continue in that vein.
George Owusu is the managing director of Unilever Ghana. And finally, Agricultural Development Bank has seen its profit after tax for the first 3 months of this year go up significantly. It witnessed an impressive growth to hit 26 million Ghana cedis for the first quarter of this year compared to 13 million Ghana cedis for the first quarter of 2019. The bank in its financial also shows some strong growth in other areas of operations for this year. It is coming on the back of some sterling financial performance for 2020, which saw its earnings actually reach 65 million Ghana cedis. Now, if you were a shareholder of MT, well, there's some good news for you because the value of each share held was up by 8 pesos to close at 1 Ghana cedis, 4 pesos. And actually, it's the first time this year in a long while that the shares has actually hit record price levels on the Ghana Stock Exchange. And that's all for business on Newsnight. Back to you, Kojo and Emefa.
Thank you very much, George, for the latest in business. And Emefa, I'm sure you've heard about
for the UEFA Champions League.
Yes, we're getting ready.
PSG and Man City.
I'll not ask you who your money.
But before then,
I'm sure you've heard about breaking the 8.
Yes. Break the 8.
And it's popular among the NPP. Today, it found its way to. It found its way at the lecture that was organized at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology.
The Akoto Memorial Lecture. So the New Patriotic Party can only win the next election if the Ministry of Agriculture are able to deliver on their mandates. That's what we are told. According to statesman and founding member of the governing New Patriotic Party, Kwame Pienim, Dr. Owusu Kotwe-Friye, as the Minister for Agri, holds 2 of the 4 pillars needed to break the jinx of ruling the country beyond 2 consecutive terms. We can listen to him.
This man is responsible for 1 and 2 of the 4 pillars that will make sure that the party that his father fought so hard to help us establish, that this party will break the jinx of the 2 terms of the 8 elections that we've had. NDC has won 4, NPP has won 4. If the Minister for Agriculture, for Food and Agriculture, is able to mechanize and rejuvenate, rehabilitate agriculture, to increase output and remove the yield deficit. Everything we produce in Ghana, we only attain 50% of the attainable world yield. Maize, rice, whatever, cocoa, name it. If it's able to improve and overcome that yield deficit, and the 1 district, 1 factory gets the output to process in the districts where the young people live and stay, they will be able to have good paying jobs to stay in the districts so that they don't come to the towns, Accra, Kumasi, to burden the already overtaxed social infrastructure.
Meanwhile, the Chief Justice, Kwesi Eninyawa, speaking through a Justice of the Court of Appeal, said Dennis Ejay is urging judges to be open-minded when interpreting the Constitution and not stick to technicalities. He also encouraged Ghanaians to remember their responsibilities to the Republic.
The celebration of Akoto Memorial Lectures is to remind the courts not to be pedantic in dealing with the Constitution, and any application or interpretation of the Constitution which will impede its singular growth, must be avoided. But for Akoto, as a statesman, is reminding students here, it is not enough to meet here annually, to have an annual ritual and leave. Why do we say that Bafo Akoto was a statesman and must be celebrated? Bafo Akoto stands for the fact that everybody is required to be honest, and you must work consensuously in your lawful choosing occupation. We must protect and preserve public property and expose those who abuse the system.
Well, delivering the keynote address at this lecture, Minister for Agriculture and son of Bafo Akoto, in whose memory the lecture was held, expressed surprise that his father is not recognized for his role in the founding of the NPP and the development of politics in the country.
His strategic role in founding and leading the NLM and in playing such a critical part in the negotiations for the formation of the United Party, the precursor of the NPP, it is surprising that Bafo Akoto does not even get a mention in contemporary discussions on the history of our political tradition. And I'm glad to see the regional chairman of the NPP here so that they can take the message back, the explanation back to the party. There is a gaping hole in contemporary discourse on his enormous contribution. That void must be filled by recognizing the strategic contribution he made in the political development of our tradition and of our dear nation.
And that's the Minister for Agriculture, Dr. Akoto Ifuye there. And that's our show.
Yeah, for tonight. And
We're making way for Gary and George to bring us commentary.
Thank you for giving us the latest in news. We'll now take it from here.
But remember to brush your teeth with Pepsodent, because with Pepsodent, every smile matters.
Oh.
Who is playing tonight?
Well, two smiling teams.
Well,
PSG and Man City both have a lot of money, so they can afford a lot of Pepsodents. Yesterday, you probably listened to our commentary, involving Real